Paterson, we got your two videos here synced up to when that ball's coming out of your hand. We're going to let you watch it 2 times in a row before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we will get you some drills that you can do at home that'll help you begin to get better at what we want to work on and get more confidence in what we're doing. So we got 2 notes for you here. We're going to focus on the nice, relaxed, high leg lift first, because that's working on giving me extra time and rhythm in my delivery. And that's something that is important for us as a pitcher. So we're going to pause this video when it gets to the top of your leg lift, which is about right here. Oops. About right there as high as it gets. What I want us to think about is, here's your hips. I'm going to guess probably about somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. And we want to be raising that leg up to at least that height. Okay, so if I play this nice and slow, we can watch the leg gets to about right there. Let's try lifting that leg up faster or with a little bit more energy up, and that will get us the leg to come up quicker. And if the leg comes up quicker, it'll want to keep going a little bit higher before it stops. Because if we can do that, that's going to give us more time to create power in this delivery, because you do a lot of things really well with your delivery, especially in your lower half, to create power. This back leg of yours is doing a lot of good movements, and they're doing those good movements at the correct time. Your throwing arm is going through a really clean, efficient arm path and is getting to a good loaded position on time and ready to throw. Your glove is a little short and compact, but your throwing arm is relatively short and compact, so it works well for you. And it's not too short where it wants to fly open because it has so much extra time. And it puts your glove in a great position when that front foot gets into the ground to have your chin looking over your shoulder right down to your target with that glove right underneath the shoulder. So all of this arm and both these legs do a really good job creating power. If we just had the opportunity to have a little bit more time to create even more power with your good movements, we're going to be in a better position. And we're going to get that time by getting this leg a little bit higher up, because then, it's going to take a little bit longer before that foot gets into the ground, because it's starting then its downward movement from a higher starting position. Starting from here, it's going to get to here in a certain amount of time. But if it starts from here and then goes down, it's going to take a little bit longer. So that's what we mean by a nice, high, but yet relaxed. We don't want it to be all herky-jerky and moving the rest of our body all around. We want it to be relaxed, just the same way you have a relaxed leg lift right now. We just want it to be higher. And the next note we have is the thought of throwing down, or another way to think of it is releasing this baseball as far out in front of me as I can. So if we then pause this at the moment of release, there's that ball out of your fingers right here. Move this out of our way. That baseball's out of your fingers. And what we can see is that it's pretty close to your head. And we would like to see this baseball get released more like here. Baseball be released with our arm going more in like this angle. And the way we're going to get our arm at this angle at release is because our chest won't just be at this angle. It'll be more at this angle. So a good way to illustrate this is when that front foot does get into the ground, into the ground, into the ground, we're in a nice upright position. And then the more that we can get our upper body on an angle forward as these shoulders rotate around, the more power and energy we're sending forward as we rotate. The more our body stays in line or close to this original position, now our body is just kind of spinning our shoulders to throw that ball. But if we get out in front as we rotate, now I'm rotating, but I'm also bringing that rotation forward, and that's a lot more powerful. So if we watch, when we get to release, our body is here. So we can ignore that example line that I was given of too little, and we can ignore this example line that I was giving of a lot. And if we just said, if we can get your back through the middle of your head out to here, that's this much distance from the hand. Let's do that same thing over here, that much distance from the hand. So then here's the baseball getting released here. So the more that we can send our chest forward, the more power we get to send forward. All the things you do in your delivery is doing a great job building up energy. These two things we're mentioning is just going to help you create more of that energy and then be able to release more of that energy. Both of those are going to give you a stronger throw. We want to get in front of a full-length mirror where we can see from our feet to our head, so we can work on our leg lift. We can work on how we're lifting it up, raising the knee versus raising the foot. We can be working on our good, strong set position, making sure we're not having to rock or sway back in order to get that leg up off the ground, but being already in a weight back position so that when the leg comes up, I'm strong and stable and I'm able to be aggressive. I'm not tipping to the base runner that I'm about to make my pitch. And instead, I get to lift my leg and be aggressive to the target right away. This drill here is going to help us learn how to rotate our chest forward. Taking our back shoulder and driving it forward as we rotate versus those shoulders opening up and flying out as we rotate. We want to find an object that has a little bit of a padding so we can send that forearm right into it without having to worry about it hurting. So you can see the side one, I had it, but the front view one, it's missing, so I had a little bruise when I got done with it. But we're just working on going back and forth, back and forth. Our chest is tall when we're back, and then it's leaning forward when we're making contact with that wall or wherever that object is that we're hitting. If I was to have that front shoulder open up to the side and then I try to hit that, I'm gonna miss that target, or just barely my elbow is gonna hit it instead of the forearm. So this is a really good drill to learn how to rotate forward. As we can see, we have 3 of you guys up here at once. And that is because we all have the same mechanical adjustment that we need to work on. And that is rotating my front leg versus opening up. So what I thought we would do for you 3 guys, since you guys all have the same thing that we need to work on, we would put you guys all in the same chapter. So we all need to work on the same thing. Obviously, we all want to see our video. So Christel, sorry, I'm not sure which way that's pronounced, but we'll let you watch your video here 2 times in a row. And kind of be thinking about what that note said as you watch your video here. We'll get it one more time for you. And we will minimize you again. We'll go to Mr. Davis, we'll let him watch his video 2 times, what we think about rotating your front leg versus opening up. We bring that back to let you watch it again one more time before we go to our other teammate. And that was Mr. Parker. So watching your front leg open up rather than rotate. And what you're going to notice is that all 3 of you guys are very, very, very similar in that opening up the front leg versus rotating the front leg. Okay, so here we have all 3 of us at that moment that our front foot, boom, starts to get, boom, into the, boom, ground, the ground. And we can kind of see that all of those front legs look very, very similar to one another, where we got from our hip to our knee, to our ankle, to our toe. Hip to knee, to ankle, to toe. Hip to knee, to ankle, to toe. And what we can say is that your knees are in the way. And the reason the knees are in the way is because they are not more aligned with the hips and the feet. And the feet and the feet. We also know that the knee is in the way because our front foot was not able to land on the ground nice and flat. We can see that because the whole outside of our foot has not gotten into the ground yet. So what's going to end up happening here is that our knee is going to have to go this way in order for our foot to get all the way into the ground. And by the time our foot does get all the way into the ground, we're going to notice how much our upper body has already then rotated to start to make this throw. So if we, boom, get you, bud, to when your foot is fully now in the ground, we can see how much those shoulders have rotated around. We come over here and we do that same thing to when your front foot gets fully into the ground. If it ever does, it almost looks like that heel never really touches the ground because it spins right there. So we can just say maybe right there, the foot's in the ground all the way. And then we do the same thing over here and bam, right about there. So we get rid of all those lines so we can see it a little bit better. And we can just see how much more our shoulders are rotated around once our front foot finally is in the ground. And what we want to think about is front foot gets in the ground and my shoulders are still sideways. So we want our shoulders to be just like they are here, and just like they are here, and just like they are here. But we need this front foot to be fully into the ground right now. So the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we start to learn how to rotate our front leg and get it to go forward more towards this white stripe that's in front of us. So if I keep you guys there and then I pull up a couple big leaguers for us to watch. Jacob deGrom. Maybe you guys have heard of his name, right? We will do it again. We'll get it going a little bit slower. And we'll watch how this front leg is going to not just keep swooping over here, but it's going to rotate to the target. See how that toe and that kneecap are going towards the target? The kneecap is facing third base dugout right now, and the toes are facing third base dugout. And now they're starting to rotate a bit. And they're starting to rotate some more. And then ultimately, when that foot gets in the ground, they've rotated all the way around. And as we see, when that foot is in the ground now, how his shoulders are still sideways. His shoulders are sideways, but his hips and his lower body have rotated forward. So if we then slide deGrom way over here, so we can see these differences now, guys, right? We can see deGrom's rotating that front leg forward. Rotating his leg to the target, so that way his knee is facing the target and his toes are facing the target. And then we see you guys, and we'll take deGrom back, and we'll take you guys back and back. So now we all look the same with our lower bodies, right? That leg is out in front of us. Your leg's out in front. Your leg's out in front. Your leg's out in front. His leg's out in front. And then deGrom rotates that leg, bam, forward. You guys kind of keep that leg sideways and just step out, step out, step out, versus rotate forward, rotate forward. We are just stepping out, stepping out, stepping out, versus rotate forward, rotate forward, rotate forward with that front leg. We are just stepping out, stepping out, stepping out, versus rotating forward, rotating forward. So now when deGrom gets the throw, we're going to watch all of this energy, bam, comes right to us. Right to us. Because your guys' legs are the way they are, we got a lot of having to go this way. A lot of having to go this way. A lot of having to go this way. Because if our upper body goes this way, guess what else gets to go that way? Those knees. And we go back with each of you guys, and we watch your knee. Knee starts here, knee starts here, knee starts here. And then when each of us gets to release, now your knee is here. Now your knee is here. Now your knee is here. And if we then take each of us back to when that foot does first touch the ground, and like we said in the beginning, the reason we know we're not in a sturdy position is because from that hip to that foot, hip to that foot, hip to that foot didn't have the knee underneath it. And then we get you going forward and, oh, look, there's that knee right in line. There's that knee right in line. There's that knee right in line. We take deGrom back. When his foot hits the ground, there's his knee, hip in line right away, which is why it gets to stay there, the whole time. So that's what we mean on each of your guys' note about rotating my front leg versus opening up that front leg. So Mr. Parker, Mr. Christel, and Mr. Davis. That's what we need to work on. I got one more time. We'll show you with someone completely different in nice slow motion all at once. I won't stop it so you can see what he does and how he rotates that front leg forward, kneecap to the target, toes to the target. That way it doesn't have to move while his shoulders move. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle is more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate. Here's your two video clips synced up to when that ball's coming out of your hand. We're gonna let you watch it 2 times here, bud. And then we will revisit the note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll get you a drill that you can practice at home to help you get confident with what we're trying to do and create some new muscle memory. Okay, that note that I had for you is we want to think about throwing down, or another way to think about it is releasing out in front. And this is something that you do pretty good, but I think if we did it just a little bit more aggressively, you're going to notice that you throw a lot harder than you already do. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause your video when that front foot, boom, gets into the ground here. Okay? And what I want us to be thinking about is when you come to rotate these shoulders around to throw, we're trying to send this hit dogs on your t-shirt towards the ground a bit. And that's going to help us get this ball to get released. You get the ball to get released out in front of you, but if we can get this chest to be a little bit further down when that ball's coming out of our hand, it's going to help us produce a little bit more power. So right now our chest is going from here to here to make our throw. I'd like to see you try to get down to here to make that throw, getting all that extra power. One thing that I did not note that could be helpful as well for you to think about is when we're going to land with our front foot, if you watch how your heel hits first and then the rest of the foot goes down, what would be helpful for you is if the whole foot just landed nice and flat all at once. Something you can think about is if you ever seen a duck flying and then they land on the pond, they don't just like hit the pond hard. They just kind of glide on that water surface, thinking the same thing. We just want to kind of just land the whole foot just on it versus bam, bam. Another way you can think of it is that you are like an alligator right now and you're chomping down. You're chomping down on the ground. We don't want to be chomping. We just want to be landing. That can be something helpful as well. But if we can think about throwing our chest down some more, that's going to help accelerate our throw some more, because everything else you do in your delivery is good. You do a lot of good things. So if we could work on that, that's going to help bring a lot more power into your throw. And a lot more power is always something that pitchers like to have. So I got a good drill that you can start to practice at home that'll help with this. This drill here is going to help us learn how to rotate our chest forward. Taking our back shoulder and driving it forward as we rotate versus those shoulders opening up and flying out as we rotate. We want to find an object that has a little bit of a padding so we can send that forearm right into it without having to worry about it hurting. So you can see the side one, I had it, but the front view one, it's missing, so I had a little bruise when I got done with it. But we're just working on going back and forth, back and forth. Our chest is tall when we're back, and then it's leaning forward when we're making contact with that wall or wherever that object is that we're hitting. If I was to have that front shoulder open up to the side and then I try to hit that, I'm going to miss that target, or just barely my elbow is going to hit it instead of the forearm. So this is a really good drill to learn how to rotate forward. We have your 2 video clips synced up here, my man, to the time that ball comes out of your hand. We're going to let you watch it 2 times before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter here. And then we will give you some drills that can help you work on this and get some confidence in making that change. So that note that we gave you is just a nice, high, and relaxed leg lift. And if I kind of just pause your video at the top of your leg lift, we can see that that's about right here only. And if I went back to the beginning and kind of just drew a line where like your hips are, they're kind of like right there and about right there, it looks like. And we can just see when we get to that top of that leg lift, we're a pretty far distance away from our hip line. And I want us to think, raise that leg up to at least our hip height. If we can get it up even higher while maintaining a good, strong posture, let's do it. Some of the best pitchers in our game are lifting their knees up to like right beneath their glove. But I'd at least like to see you get it even with your hips or even with your belt. Because as we noted here, that's going to give you some extra time in your delivery. And when we get extra time with your good delivery you already have, our rhythm is able to get even more involved, which is going to help us create even more power. Because you have very good lower body, front leg staying closed, so that way we can rotate all that power late, rotate that late. We do a good job of our back leg staying back, so that way we can drive ourselves forward with its rotation. We do a good job of our glove finishing into our body. What I will note is on this particular pitch, we reached the glove out towards our target a little bit more than this pitch did. This pitch, we kind of left this elbow more bent the whole time. This one, it started bent, but then it kind of extended and reached, where our side video one, it kind of just held this bend the whole time. And what we'll notice at the end is this glove, we held the finish fantastic. And on this one, because it was kind of a weirder arm or weirder path that you took, it kind of is out over here and then falls down by your side. This is fantastic right here. This is all day what we're looking for. This is big league right here. So I highly recommend maybe we kind of think about when we're playing catch, just being consistent with where that glove's going. So that way, every once in a while, we don't have it do this, because that's not big league. This is big league. On top of those things that we mentioned that you do well, your arm gets to a very healthy, safe, and strong loaded position when it's time to start to throw. Your arm's got some good ability of trying to get out in front with that release. Our head does a good job staying on target. We do a good job finishing our hips around a good, firm front leg. So you do a lot of things really well if we just gave ourselves a little extra time in our delivery to create this power and to send this power that you do so well already. You create good power, you send good power, you control good power. If we just had more time to create more power, you would be able to send it and control it just as well as you already do. And we're going to get that if we can get this leg up to at least our hip height. So we're going to want to just practice lifting our leg up over and 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 over. We want to get in front of a full-length mirror where we can see from our feet to our head, so we can work on our leg lift. We can work on how we're lifting it up, raising the knee versus raising the foot. We can be working on our good, strong set position, making sure we're not having to rock or sway back in order to get that leg up off the ground, but being already in a weight back position so that when the leg comes up, I'm strong and stable and I'm able to be aggressive. I'm not tipping to the base runner that I'm about to make my pitch. And instead, I get to lift my leg and be aggressive to the target right away. All right, we got some single leg plyos here. We're just going to be doing, first off, side hops back and forth over the line. We got two perspectives here, straight up and from what it looks like on the side, making sure we're keeping that knee nice and high and keeping those hands nice and relaxed, meaning they're not bouncing and that leg's not bouncing as either as our body weight shifts back and forth now over top of that line. And we got clocks, so we're going to hop in basically 4 squares, 4 corners. You can challenge yourself by not just looking straight forward, but then also looking down your shoulder like you're looking at your catcher. And then we have the opposite direction that we were just going. So we were going counter, now we're going clockwise. Then we have just continuous side hops. Again, keeping that knee nice and high, those hands nice and relaxed. Keeping that weight back so we can keep driving that body forward while staying balanced. And then bring yourself back all the way from where you started, trying to keep everything to the side as best you can and trying to stay in a nice straight line. Then we got the same thing, what that looks like from the side, trying to keep everything nice and relaxed. All right, Mr. Long. You got your 2 video clips here synced up to when that ball's coming out of your hand. We'll let you watch it 2 times here in a row before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we will get you some drills that you can do to practice this at home. And that note that we gave you was to keep a tall chest. And what keeping that tall chest is going to do is going to help give us better posture, and that's going to give us better command of our pitches, meaning more strikes. So if we pause this video right here, we'd say that this is the highest that our leg is going to get. So during our leg lift, bam, there's our knee height right there and right there. Our knee starts right here and right here, and it raises up to there. So that's how much our knee goes up and up. If we then go back and we say, here's our chin and our chin, and we do that same thing, and we pause when that knee gets to the top, and we redraw those lines of chin and chin, and then we kind of compare how much the chin went down versus how much the knee went up, where it's almost as if the chin is trying to go to your waist while your knee also tries to go to your waist. So if we kind of watch that now, kind of how the knee and the chin are going into one another. We're coming into one another. So we would say your chest is not tall right now. Now, there are definitely some pitchers that are going to hunch over during their leg lift. However, those guys that do hunch over in their leg lifts are not going to come back up to being tall again to throw the baseball. They're going to stay low and throw super sidearm or even submarine. And if I just kind of gave you a quick example of what that looks like, I can do something like this. And we can watch Tom in his leg lift. We can see he hunched over, right? He's hunched over. His knee and his chin kind of met in the middle there. But now if we watch, he stays hunched over because he's going to throw from down here. Right? And obviously, you're not throwing from down there. You're throwing from way up there. So that's what I mean when I give you the note of keep a tall chest. During this leg lift, keep this here. Don't have this come down as that knee's coming up. Because if your chest stays tall, your knee is going to be able to come a whole heck of a lot higher than just right here. You're going to be able to get your knee to at least your belly button, if not higher. The reason you can't do it right now is because your chest is going down as you're trying to bring this up, and that just prevents this from being able to go up as high as it could. So that's what we mean when we say keep a tall chest. We don't want to be hunched over if we're just going to come right back to being tall right before we throw. We want to get in front of a full-length mirror where we can see from our feet to our head so we can work on our leg lift. We can work on how we're lifting it up, raising the knee versus raising the foot. We can be working on our good, strong set position, making sure we're not having to rock or sway back in order to get that leg up off the ground, but being already in a weight back position so that when the leg comes up, I'm strong and stable and I'm able to be aggressive. I'm not tipping to the base runner that I'm about to make my pitch. And instead, I get to lift my leg and be aggressive to the target right away. All right, we got some single leg plyos here. We're just going to be doing, first off, side hops back and forth over the line. We got two perspectives here, straight up and from what it looks like on the side, making sure we're keeping that knee nice and high and keeping those hands nice and relaxed, meaning they're not bouncing and that leg's not bouncing as either as our body weight shifts back and forth now over top of that line. And we got clocks, so we're going to hop in basically 4 squares, 4 corners. You can challenge yourself by not just looking straight forward, but then also looking down your shoulder like you're looking at your catcher. And then we have the opposite direction that we were just going. So we were going counter, now we're going clockwise. Then we have just continuous side hops. Again, keeping that knee nice and high, those hands nice and relaxed. Keeping that weight back so we can keep driving that body forward while staying balanced. And then bring yourself back all the way from where you started. Trying to keep everything to the side as best you can. And trying to stay in a nice straight line. Then we got the same thing. What that looks like from the side. Trying to keep everything nice and relaxed. We have your 2 video clips here synced up, bud, to when that baseball's coming out of your hand. We will let you watch it 2 times in a row. And then we will revisit the note that was given at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll get you some drills that can help you start to get some confidence in making these changes. So what I'm going to show you here is that your arm is just a little early. And what we mean by your arm is a little early is that we're going to notice that your arm wants to start coming forward before this front foot gets all the way into the ground. And then now we have just a little less power to throw with. And it becomes just a little bit more difficult for us to release this ball a little bit more further out in front of us. I do have one big leaguer who has very similar type of throwing action that you have here that I'm going to pull up for you to be able to see. And that hopefully can help us further illustrate what I mean by your arm just coming through, wanting to throw, wanting to throw, wanting to throw, wanting to throw, before we get that foot all the way secured into the ground. And that guy's name is Merriweather. So let me get my baseball big league side view. Oh boy, what's his first name though? I could probably do this though, right? I don't know how to spell Merriweather, apparently. Maybe there's only one. Oh, wait. Shoot. Here he is. Julian. Okay. All right. So. We can notice how he's got that really high elbow like you do. It's a little hazy video, so I do apologize for that. But let's do this over here. And then we'll get you over here. And then boom. Okay. So now we got both of you guys in very similar positions with this upper body, right? We could take you maybe a little bit further. Bam. Okay. So we both got you guys with this real high arm slot, real high launch, with his elbow being way higher than the head, the elbow being way higher than the head. So if we go backwards in time now, with you to there, and we'll take Merriweather to there, then him back some more to there. We take you back to that moment of that elbow being back, like his, and we would say right there. Your elbow is very much like his. So if we now note, unfortunately we have to move it, his foot, and third base is kind of blocking that view, but if we go further back, that foot is in the ground now. So if I go any further, you can see it's not moving down more because it's in the ground. So when his front foot is getting into the ground, we can notice that his elbow is not going to start to want to rotate forward yet until after that foot gets into the ground. So now the foot's in the ground, now here comes that elbow going forward and up. After his front foot gets into the ground, his arm starts to rotate forward and up. Your elbow will begin to go forward and up from this moment on, and we're going to note how your foot is not quite in the ground yet. So we get that elbow here, and we're going to see how it's starting to come forward and up before that front foot gets into the ground. So we're just a little quick to want to throw. So something that we can do to help your arm not be so quick to the finish line is we can think about keeping the ball in our glove for just a split second longer before we let it come out. So instead of it coming out now, we would have it come out now. Easy as that. Obviously, it's easy to say it, it's harder to do it, but that's as simple as we can make that adjustment. Is just we need this arm to be a little bit later to the party, so let's leave our house a little later. Right now, you're getting to the party too soon. No one's here yet. Okay, well, if I leave early, I get to the party early. I don't want to be too early to the party. So it's stay in my house a little longer, my glove. And then when I leave, I'll be to the party on time. Because everything else that you do in your delivery, dude, is very nice. And like I said, some people would say like your arm slot's way too high or you're yanking down and pulling, but there's not a lot of yanking going on that's creating that arm to go up. That's just how your body likes to do it. It's the same way Julian Merriweather's body likes to throw. It's from that really high, over-exaggerated arm slot. So if he can do it, why not you? All right, Mr. Young, we got your 2 video clips here synced up to when that ball's coming out of your hand at release. I'm gonna let you watch it 2 times. And then we will revisit the note that was given at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll get you some drills that you can be doing at home to help you make those improvements and gain confidence in what you're trying to do. And that note that I have for you is a strong front leg. That's going to help give you some control of your finish and ultimately more power in your pitches. And what we're going to do to help illustrate this is we're going to pause your video when that front foot, bam, gets into the ground. Because up at this point, or up until this point, you have done everything very, very well. We got this great high leg lift, which there's some guys in your squad that need to work on that, so you can be a good example of a high leg lift. You do a good job of getting this glove in a lane that we can stay closed with. We got our weight staying back. We got our eyes on the target. We got our lower half rotating on time. You see that back foot, back knee, back hip rotating us forward. We can see that glove staying in a good spot where it can finish into our body, which keeps our chin and our shoulder closed. We're a little open. We're just a little open. But all in all, we're in a very good position to throw this baseball. And when we do, just like when we hit, we want to be throwing over a firm front side. Meaning we don't really want the knees to be having to go side to side, nor do we want to see the knees going, didn't mean to draw that way. Nor do we want to see the knee going this way. If anything, the knee going this way, making our leg straight, would be the way to go, because we want this thing to be strong. We can also replace strong with firm, right? We want a firm front leg and strong. So what we'll do, again, we will watch this front leg. Once we get it into the ground with all these good mechanics that we've done so far, let's watch this knee and see, does it go side to side at all, or does it go forward at all, or does it go backwards at all? So as we're coming through with our throw, we can see that this knee starts to go forward. So obviously there's some more in there, right? What we would like to see is for that knee just to stay in that original spot, so that way our body can just continue to rotate around it, rather than falling in front of it. So if I've just pulled up a quick video of a big leaguer who you kind of have similar-ish mechanics to, yeah. We watch Jacob deGrom. We'll do that same thing. We'll pause him when his front foot gets into the ground there. And we'll put him in a spot. And then we'll do the same thing with you. We'll get you, bam, into yours. And we'll get you a little bit smaller. So that way we can see both of these front legs here. And then we'll watch what deGrom's leg does as he throws that ball. How that leg is kind of straightening out. And then that straight leg gets taller so he can rotate around it. He can rotate around that tall leg. So it lands with the bend, then it gets straight, and then as his body rotates around that leg, and as his upper body gets tall, so does his leg get tall. Oops. And that's why he's able to finish right in place with that left leg never coming off the ground again. When you're making that throw, because that knee doesn't get firm, we see how that left leg is going to come off the ground again. So that's what we mean by a strong front leg. compared to a leg that starts strong, tries to stay strong, but then ultimately buckles. But everything else is real good in these mechanics. So the drills that I got for you is going to help you with this strong front leg. All right, next we're going to work on being balanced on that front leg, having good stability as our body gets out in front of the leg. Just like it would be when we get to release in our follow through and our finish, we are in front of this leg. So we want to work on the strength, the balance, the stability of getting out here and being able to be balanced. Okay, so we're gonna have 3 different objects here of varying heights. The shortest one closest to me, and the higher one furthest from me. Everyone's gonna have a little different height based on your flexibility. All I'm gonna be doing is gonna be on that stride leg. Bam. Working good knee posture, no bending of this leg, having a good arched lower back as we do this so our back can stay stiff and not be loose and go down hunched. And now we're just going to go down, touch, and come back up. Now you're going to the next one. Down, touch, come back up. And then the third one. Touch. All right, my man, we got your 2 video clips synced up here to when that ball comes out of your glove, or out of your glove, out of your hand. I'm gonna let you watch it 2 times in a row before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll get you some drills that you can do at home to help you practice getting better at this. And what this is controlling your glove. And why is this important? It's going to help prevent you from opening early, which is going to give you a stronger and healthier arm. So let's just watch our glove and where it goes in this front view video here. Let's not even pay attention to the side view right now. Let's just watch this front view and watch where your glove goes the entire time. Okay, let's take it back and we're gonna draw some dots that's gonna trace where this glove goes. Okay, so we take that back then and we can kind of see how that glove goes through all those different red dots there. And crazy enough, the starting position is almost very similar to the finish position of that glove. So your glove is going all over the place. But the reason that we want to control your glove is because the craziest part of this glove of yours is it starts in a really good spot. It starts over here, right? If we think about this being a road, this is a good road to be on. The middle over here isn't a road. This is just grass. We can be over here if we want to, but we don't want to leave the grass because over here is another road, but all the cars on this road go this way. We're trying to throw the pitch where? This way. So we need to go this way. So it's better for us to have this glove be in this lane. We can call this lane 1. And we don't want to go into lane 3. Lane 2 is okay. But once we go from 1 to 2, our body is probably going to want to either continue to go to 3 or need to finish and stay into the rest of the time. And what we're going to notice is that if we go backwards in time, our glove is starting in lane 1. It comes and starts moving in lane 1. And now we can see it swooping out of lane 1. Oh, it went out of lane 1 all the way past lane 2 super quickly, and now it's in lane 3, and then, holy smokes, now it's created its own new lane all by itself, and over here is just like lava. So your glove is just melting away. And that's why then you pull that glove back into lane 3, and then you try to get it back into safety of lane 2, but because we're swooping it still, it goes all the way back to lane 1. So we're just kind of swoop in this glove, swoop in this glove, swoop in this glove. And when we do that, and we swoop that glove, that opens our shoulders early. And we can see now that when that front foot gets into the ground, how your shoulder and your glove are way over here, and that makes your throwing arm come around super, super quick and early. When this front foot hits the ground, we want our shoulders to still be sideways. But because your glove swoops over here, your shoulders swoop over here. So we need to have control over that glove. We need to be having that glove go out like you have it, but then instead of just swooping it all the way around, that glove goes out, and then it comes back in towards our rib cage, armpit, chest area. The glove goes out like you're doing, but then it's got to come into my body, so that way my shoulders stay to the target. Your glove goes outside of your shoulders, and that's why your shoulders then go out. We want the glove to go only to in line with the target, and now it's got to start finishing into your body. It's got to start going into your ribs, but instead it keeps going to the side, and that's what swoops all your energy to the side. So we're going to want to work on controlling your glove or finishing your glove. Instead of it going way over here, it needs to be right here. We just got a quick big league video for you to see that with. We can do a front view of Jacob deGrom here and watch how that glove got to the chest. The glove is finished in his chest area. It's not swooping out. I thought this was a little bit slower video. Let me get a slower video for us to watch. And watch Zach Wheeler here. His glove goes into lane 1. Here's lane 2. This is lane 3. See how once his glove gets into lane 2, how it's up into his chest, armpit area? So that way now it stays there. And because it did not get into lane 3, by the time that front foot of his gets into the bam, ground, his shoulders are still sideways. When your glove goes swooping out here, swooping out here, swooping out here, that puts your shoulders open like that when your front foot hits the ground, ground, ground. Gloves are in similar spots, but then his finishes. It doesn't just keep swooping, it finishes. It doesn't just keep swooping, it finishes. So we got to learn how to finish that glove. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here, so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. See that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. Okay, Mr. Day, we got your 2 video clips synced up to when baseball comes out of your hand. We're going to let you watch it 2 times in a row. And then we will revisit the note that was given and get you some drills that we can do to help work on these things. All right, and we got 2 notes for you. One is finish my glove, which is going to help keep your shoulders closed. So we're going to talk about this one first, and then we'll get into the blue note. What we're going to watch is this glove. And where this glove goes, we don't really need to watch the side view for this right now. We're just going to watch the front view. So I just want you to watch, where does my glove go from start to finish during this throw here? Okay, so if we kind of draw some dots now and go backwards and just kind of trace the path that this glove has gone through. All right, so then we can kind of see that's where the glove is going while we're trying to throw the baseball. Now, the biggest part of this that we're going to take a look at is this portion here. This right here. That area right there. And what we can say is your glove is going in this direction, which means your front arm has that energy wanting to go that way. And if that energy keeps going that way, ultimately it's going to take your front shoulder with it. Take your front shoulder with it. Front shoulder with it. Can you see how that front shoulder is rotating out already? And it's doing that before your front foot gets into the ground. So by the time your front foot is in the ground, we can see that your back shoulder is also starting to rotate then forward, because that front shoulder, was rotating out. If this shoulder goes this way, this shoulder is going to go that way. There's not much we can do about it. So that means we got to make sure that this shoulder stays sideways until that front foot hits the ground. So that way the back shoulder stays sideways until that front foot hits the ground. And the reason that your shoulders aren't able to stay sideways before that front foot hits the ground is because your glove is swooping outside of your shoulders, which then make your shoulders have to open up. So if we finish your glove, that's going to really help us with this, which is making sure our foot is down first before we begin to rotate your shoulders to make your throw. Because when we can do that, we now have a much stronger and, even more importantly, healthier arm. So what we can say is your shoulders are beginning to throw before that front foot is in the ground. And the reason that your shoulders are wanting to throw and rotate before that front foot is in the ground is because this glove is starting to swoop out on ya. If we could, instead of having this glove swoop all the way around, we could have it swoop, but then we got to have it finish into my ribs, armpit, chest area here. I can have it swoop. I just can't have it swoop all the way out here and open me up. I need to swoop and then get to a finish so I can rotate everything forward with good power. So if we gave you an example of what those two things look like, we can use Zach Wheeler here, and we'll pause him when that front foot hits the ground. Bam. And we can see that his shoulders are still sideways. Right? His shoulders start sideways and they're still sideways. Why? Because his glove that swooped out here did not swoop over here. It only swoops to here and then it finishes there. Out to finish. Out to finish. Versus out to swoop to pull my shoulders through early. So your front foot in the ground, in the ground, in the ground. And we can see how much your shoulders are already wanting to rotate because of where this glove is at. Versus shoulders staying sideways when the foot's in the ground because of where this glove is at. So now Zach Wheeler gets to throw with all of that power versus you throwing with just that much power. That much power. So we want to work on being able to finish your glove so that way you have the ability to have your foot get down first and then rotate your shoulders to throw, so you have a strong and healthy arm.